Respected Director Sir, Dean Sirs, Registrar Madam, faculty members, and my dear colleagues. Constitution Day, also known as the Samvidhan Divas, is celebrated in our country on 26 November every year to commemorate the adoption of the Constitution of India. On 26 November 1949, the Constituent Assembly of India adopted the Constitution of India, which came into effect from 26 January 1950. The Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment on 19 November 2015 notified the decision of Government of India to celebrate the 26th day of November every year as Constitution Day to promote constitutional values among citizens. We at IACS have also gathered here for the same reason. The celebrations started on Saturday, 26 November, with the reading out of the preamble. The event was held online, and today we will be going through the rest of the events. We will start today with the introductory speech and reading out of the preamble. For this, may I request our Director Sir, Professor Taposh Chakraborty, to kindly address us.
Thank you, Purvasha. So, good afternoon, everybody. As Purvasha said, that this every year on the day of this 26th of this November, since 2015, this government announced that we should celebrate this day as the Constitution Day. Because on this day, as she said, that after drafting this Constitution, Dr. Ambedkar, who was the chairman of this Constitution Draft Committee, handed over the Constitution to this Constituent Assembly. So, Professor Satyajit Adhikari will talk details about this Constitution of India. So, before reading out this preamble, let me just talk a few general words about this Constitution in general, not about this Indian Constitution. So what we have this parliament today, so this earlier version of this parliament, because although this we, as far as I know, 1947, 15th of December, 15th of August, that although this India got freedom from this British rule, but we did not have any constitution, neither we had any parliament. So this 1935 Act of this India Act, that was used for 3 years by this ruling government, and the kind of this interim parliament, that is what is called this Constituent Assembly, that was created, and the chairman of this Constituent Assembly was Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and this Mr. Harendra Kumar Mukherjee, he was the vice chairman. He has a different, we know him differently because he was the third governor of West Bengal. He was a literate in the language of English language and the professor of Calcutta University, of English professor. Now, this draft committee has 7 members. So out of these 7 members, just I am telling you these general stories about these things. Dr. Ambedkar, he never said that he wanted to become the chairman of this Constitution Draft Committee, because basically he became a member of this Constituent Assembly to protect the right of the of this so-called this deprived class of the society. But because of his educational background, he was given this charge, so he took it. Now, as we know that this Constitution for any country, it is basically the supreme law of the country. All countries have the Constitution. And the basic features of these constitutions are that there is this legislature, there is judiciary, there is executive. So this is common for all the constitutions. But where it differs is that this constitution, in addition to that, it gives some basic rights to its citizen. And this to what extent that the constitution of a country gives the basic rights to its citizen, there it is the difference. So what we have this constitutional democracy, So everything is for, by and of the citizen, that is the mass use praised. But there are of course this constitutional monarchy, like we have this in the United Kingdoms, in the Sweden and also in Japan. There are of course constitutional dictatorship that you have in the North Korea. There are of course constitutional, what is called this authoritarian rule, like in the People's Republic of China and also this Federation of Russia. But we are fortunate that we are following this constitutional democracy in our country, and definitely these forefathers, that is the people who drafted this constitution, they gave this credit for these things. Now Indian constitution, as Professor Adhikari will say, that this is possibly this longest constitution any country that is having this constitutional democracy. When it was started, it was handed over to Dr. Rajendra Prasad. It was 395 articles, and then over time there are about 100 amendments. So at present possibly there are 448 articles. But on the other hand, if we look at some other country, that is the largest democracy we say is United States of America. Their constitution was adopted in the year 1789, and the constitution has only 7 articles. But of course there are amendments, because the bigger change that happened in America, and which is of course this educational for everybody, that is their civil war. It is the war between this north and southern federations of the states because of the slavery. So after this abolition of the slavery, where this Abraham Lincoln was the president, then there was major amendment of the constitutions in United States. Not only this slavery was abolished, but at the same time, that people who were the slaves once, they were given this equal right of voting. So that is the power of the democracy. The last constitution amendment that happened in America, I must mention these things, and then we can compare what kind of democracy we are practicing here. The last amendment happened in 1992, and that amendment that came from some kind of term paper writing of a graduate student, and the topic was that whether the sitting Congress, like we have the 2 houses, America also have the 2 houses, House of Representatives and the Senate. So whether the congressmen should have the power to amend constitution for increasing their own salary. So in 1992 amendment of this American Constitution, they amended that no sitting Congress should have the power to increase their own salary. If at all to be changed, that should be effective from the next Congress. But of course we could not do it. There are many amendments here, but one more term that I must mention, that compared to us, that although this England is following this constitutional monarchy, but all the major changes, major features that we have in our constitution, that Professor Adhikari will explain, that was basically borrowed from the British Constitution. And in fact, the Britain does not have that kind of that big running country, this constitution, because in their society, through this experience over the centuries, whatever they have experienced, we have adopted that. The first change that happened, of course, in England is 1215, when the John was the king, and he was one of the arbitrary kings. So many of the barons of the society, they revolted against him, and they accepted this power of the common people. So from there, many amendments took place, and one of these English political philosopher, his name is John Locke. What he gave the theory is the theory of this natural right. So theory of natural right, it is of course 200 years before the theory of natural selection of the Charles Darwin. And there is John Locke gave the theory, and which is of course taken by most of the countries that adopt this constitutional democracy. There is the freedom of life, freedom of property, and this freedom of liberty. So this is something that this England is practicing from the time of this Newton, because this John Locke and Albert Newton, almost this Isaac Newton, almost they're contemporary. Now, coming back to our case, that although we talk about Dr. Ambedkar, because he is the architect of this constitution, But I think these two heroes, basically their names are never mentioned. I think I need to mention their name, so that at least we know that who was the real hero in the background for this drafting of this constitution. So one of the persons, his name was this Surendranath Mukherjee. Surendranath Mukherjee, I must introduce him this way, that he was an ICS, what we have this Indian administrative service today, Indian civil service. So he passed naturally from this England, and then he was the person, the secretary of this Constituent Assembly Secretariat, a kind of secretariat that was created only for 3 years, and he was the joint secretary. Now his contribution, the Ambedkar described in the following way. Dr. Ambedkar reported this on this day that when this constitution was handed over to Dr. Rajendra Prasad, that without Mukherjee's help, it would not have been possible to draft the constitution and to hand over to this constitution, this constituent assembly this day. Because he was the person that he drafted, he was the main drafter of this constitution. He drafted basically all the languages that we have in our Indian constitution. Practically, mostly, it was because of this Mukherjee's draft. And any kind of intricate things in the framework of the law, he was the architect of it. And of course, this government of India gave him the credit. He was given this Padma Vibhushan award for his contribution. And the second person was this Benegal Narasimha Rao. Benegal Narasimha Rao, he was also one of this ICS, and he was the graduate of this Trinity College of Cambridge. And after this ICS examination, he was posted in Calcutta. So, since he was in service, he was in Calcutta only. He was the judge in the Calcutta High Court, and he retired from Calcutta in the year 1944. So after his retirement, he was made the secretary, this advisor of this Constituent Assembly for the drafting of this constitution. Now, because of his knowledge, he gave a very strict, some kind of this imposed restriction to Nehru. He said that when this constitution will be drafted, no political party will be consulted. So every consultation was made that time, this draft maker. They consulted about 60 different constitutions of this different country. And this Narasimha Rao, he traveled to England and also to this Canada, to New Zealand, to this Australia, and also in this United States to see the features of this constitution. So consulting all these things, actually he was the first person who drafted this constitution, and then it was debated, and finally, after many amendments, the total number came, that is 395. And because of his contribution, he was given much award. He was the India's representation of this United States Security Council, and from this 1950 to 1952, and he was the first Indian judge of this International Court of Law. And but unfortunately, he died during his stay in Switzerland. Now, with all these stories, I think that we will listen more about from Professor Udhikari. But what I feel in the following way, that this government's idea to introduce this Constitution Day, it's a great idea, because it just reminds us not only the contributions of our forefathers, but the Constitution has given us right, but at the same time some responsibility. So I think again and again we have to remind about our responsibility. This is true not only for the running the country, but also for our institution also, even the smaller scale. That it should remind us what our responsibility is. Only if we can remind that, remember this thing, then this constitutional democracy in every spheres of the life will be successful. Thank you very much. So what I can do that I can read out this preamble of the Indian Constitution, but okay. So I'm just reading it out. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, on this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Professor Shatrajit Adhikari, Dean Administration and Finance, to deliver the lecture on the Constitution of India.
না এগুলো ফেসবুক লাইভে
Good afternoon, everyone. এখানে দাঁড়ানো ঠিক হবে?
ওটা বন্ধ কর চলে আসুন এখানে
Good afternoon, everyone. I actually welcome all of you, the Director, Indian Association of the Cultivation of Science, Dean, Register, and all our faculty colleagues and non-faculty colleagues. With that, I have been actually requested by the Register and other people that for them to give a lecture, and particularly to prepare documents so that everybody can see and understand. So the title is the Constitution of India. So Constitution of India, as Professor Chakraborty was telling, the supreme law of India, and the supreme law of India is established by several important points and several important aspects: fundamental political code, structure, procedure, power, duty of government institute, directive principles, fundamental right and duty of citizen. And based on that, the Constitution of India is constituted over several articles, several amendment, and so on and so forth. It reflects constitution also. Our Constitution basically reflects constitutional supremacy over parliamentary supremacy. That means Parliament cannot do anything which is not, at least at that point of time, which is not there in the Constitution. If the Parliament want to do something which is beyond the Constitution, then they have to first amend the Constitution before doing it. Parliament cannot override the Constitution. That's the main important point. Now adoption, most of the things Professor Chakraborty is already mentioned, but just for the sake of completion, the Constitution of India was adopted by the Constitution Assembly of India on 26 November 1949 and became effective so-called our Republic Day, 26 January 1950. The Constitution replaced, that also Professor Chakraborty mentioned, the Government of India Act 1935. Actually, we were, during that time we were under British rule, and British government was ruling us by this act. The dominion of India become republic after when you adopt this thing. So in the first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru on the occasion of adopting the Constitution of India. Now Professor Chakraborty also mentioning about Sir Benegal Narsingh Rao. Okay, he was the main person, and he was the first Indian judge to the International Justice Court of Justice in Hague, Netherlands. The creator of the part of the longest written constitution, the creator of Constitution's general structure, prepared the initial draft in 1948, 243 articles and 13 schedules. So, and debated and amended by 8 persons drafting the committee, chaired by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The reference is, this Pattonai in 2017 article. In this article I have taken. You must remember, initial draft was by Sir Benegal Narsingh Rao, and there was actually out of total 7,635 amendments, the Assembly moved, discussed, and disposed of 2,473. So originally it was 7,635 and 2,473 were basically disposed of, and during the deliberation of the revised draft constitution. And B.R. Ambedkar actually stated in concluding speech in the Constituent Assembly on 25th November 1949, the credit that is given to me doesn't really belong to me, it belongs partly to Sir B.N. Rao, that is Narasimha Rao, the constitutional advisor to the Constitution Assembly, who prepared a rough draft of the Constitution for the consideration of drafting committee. Okay, that is actually taken from the speech of B.R. Ambedkar 1949. On that day he gave a speech. One of the 3 original copies of the Indian Constitution, and that is available in the net, this is, and that is kept in a box filled with helium gas. Okay, and the Central Library of the Parliament, where it is there. The structure Constitution of India, preamble, the principle what just we read, Professor Chakraborty read, and we repeat it, and the principle of Constitution and indicate of the source of the authority, and 470 articles grouped into 25 parts. So that I will show very soon. So actually there are areas where multiple articles are there with 12 schedules and 5 appendices. The Indian Constitution is the world's largest for a sovereign nation. In the preamble, Ram Manohar Sinha, who was the artist, who actually, and the calligrapher, Prem Bihari Narin Rai Raja, he was the calligrapher. With that, this calligrapher was made, original text of the preamble. And that is from Rajiv Dhawan 2015, that document was taken. Okay, that is the actually preamble, and just Professor Chakraborty read it out. Obviously, I am not reading it out, but you can see that all the 4 important points, that is justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, and that has been summarized, and all these 4 are covered by 476 articles, and as I said, that 70 articles and 12 schedules and 5 appendices. Now interpretation is the most important, The word sovereign is taken from Article 5 of the Constitution of Ireland. So Ireland Constitution is like this. Sovereign means the independent authority of a state, that it has the power to legislate on any subject and that is not subject to the control of any other state or external power. Now external sovereignty, that is also very important like internal sovereignty. It can acquire foreign territory, also create any part of the Indian territory subject to limitation, if any, imposed by the Constitution. So tomorrow, if India thinks to acquire some other part of the world, it is not possible. It is possible by obeying this part of the Constitution. It has to go through that. And internal sovereignty relates to the internal and domestic affair and is divided into 4 organs, namely executive, legislature, judiciary and administrative. Socialist, that part was 42 Amendment, officially known as the Constitution 42nd Amendment 1976. Former Prime Minister Indira Priyadarshini Gandhi was enacted during 25 June 1975 and national emergency declared. That day actually it is done. Socialist, democratic socialism, achievement of socialist goal through democratic evolution and non-violent means, introduced to reduce social economic inequality. That's the that was the background for introduce that that special term in the preamble. Now the secular 42 Amendment, that also included and officially known as 42 Amendment 1976. This term means that all religion in India get equal respect, protection and support from the state. And democracy is a system of government in which the citizen exercise power directly or elect representative from among themselves to form a governing body such as parliament. It also refers as the rule of the majority. Power cannot be inherited and representative with most number of votes gets the power. It refers to political democracy but also to social and economic democracy. The main reason to incorporate democracy is to provide freedom to the people to choose their own representative and to save them from tyrant rulers. Indian Constitution is the world, and India has the world's largest democracy, not just our constitution also the largest, but also our democracy is the largest. Now republic, that word deviated from the Latin word res publica, public affair, in a publican from the form of government. The head of the state is elected, not a hereditary monarch. The word denotes a government where no one holds public power as a proprietary right. A democratic republic is an entity in which the head of the state is elected directly or indirectly, like our president is indirectly elected. Our parliament member and the prime minister are directly related for a fixed tenure. And justice stands for rule of law, absence of arbitrariness, a system of equal right, freedom and opportunity for all in the society. So justice means not just social justice but also economic justice and political justice. And social justice has several actually area where the justice is actually impregnated into our constitution. Now social justice, that is actually very elaborately given in our constitution. Social justice means absence of socially privileged class in the society and no discrimination against any citizen on the ground of caste, creed, color, religion, gender or place of birth. India stands for eliminating all forms of exploitation from the society. And economic justice means no discrimination between man and woman on the basis of income, wealth and economic status. It stands for equitable distribution of wealth economic equality, and the end of monopolized control over means of production and distribution. That means storing of food and all these things. And during the time of shortage of food, many actually businessmen and other people, they stored the food. That is against the constitution and against the parliamentary democracy. And political justice, political justice means equal, free and fair opportunity to the people for participation in the political process. It stands for the grant of equal political right to all the people without discrimination. The Constitution of India provides a liberal democracy in which all the people have the right and freedom to participate. So any political party, in principle, one can do, and he should be fully allowed to do that. Now, liberty refers to the freedom and the activity of Indian national, and liberty, no unreasonable restriction on Indian citizen in the context of thinking and manner of expressions. Freedom in all aspects within the constitutional limit. So that is very important. The freedom in all aspects within the constitutional limit. Okay. Freedom means not doing. One cannot do anything. Okay. So that has an explanation from the earliest day of Aristotle, and modern concept of political liberty is closely linked with the concept of democracy. And what we think, this then is one note of liberty which all Democrats affirm to be the principle of their state. Another is that a man should live as he likes. This, they say, this is the privilege of a free man, since on the other hand, not to live as a man like in the mark of slave. This is the second characteristic of democracy. Whence this has risen the claim of man to be ruled by none if possible, or if this is impossible to rule and be ruled in turn. So it is important, this is impossible to rule and be ruled in turn, so to contribute to the freedom based upon equality. So essentially, the freedom, liberty, social justice, everything what you see in all over the world that come from Aristotle. Equality, absence of special privilege to any section of society, and the provision of adequate opportunity of all the individuals without any discrimination. Every individual in the country, irrespective of his or her caste, religion, educational and economic background, is recognized as equal. All citizens will be treated equally before the law. The law of the country protects everyone equally under the same circumstances. The law will treat people in the same manner, and that is what the right to equality, and that is actually Article 14 to 18. So that's the region in the Constitution that is there. Equality may be friction. So if you see the sentence, that is very important. Equality may be friction, but nonetheless one must accept it as a governing principle. So that is very loaded statement, you can see. And fraternity, a sense of belonging with the country among its people, a feeling of brotherhood and sisterhood. India is a land of immense diversity, so the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood assures dignity to all the citizens and the country's unity and integrity. The dignity of the individual, the unity and integrity of the nation, enacted by 42 Amendment, officially known as Constitution 42nd Amendment 1976, that also actually acted integrity. Okay, I like the religion that you see in this context. What Bhimrao Ambedkar said, this is very loaded statement. I like the religion that teaches liberty, equality, and fraternity. So that religion is liberty, equality, and fraternity. That's the religion. Historical background: the drafted and moved to the Constitutional Assembly on 13 December 1946, accepted on 22nd January 1947 and adopted by the Constitutional Assembly on 26 November 1949, coming into force on 26 January 1950. That is our Republic Day. And that was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And you can M. Lakshminath 2013 McGraw-Hill, there is a book, and that book actually gives this historical background. B.R. Ambedkar said about the preamble of Indian Constitution, and that is very actually explanatory speech by B.R. Ambedkar about this preamble. It was indeed a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality and fraternity as the principle of life and which cannot be divorced from each other. He thought actually all three are equally connected with each other. They cannot be divorced with each other. Liberty cannot be divorced from equality. Equality cannot be divorced from liberty, nor can liberty and equality be divorced from fraternity. Without equality, liberty would produce the supremacy of few over the many. Equality without liberty would kill individual initiative. Without fraternity, liberty and equality could not become a natural force of things. So that's why he actually able to connect. So what you see in the preamble, he finally tried to explain basically all are same, same thing, and they are basically connected with each other. One cannot be, actually can be explained without the other. Without, enact the one, you cannot enact other one. So that's what it is. So I will not go detail, but grouping of constitution. So and now you can see part 1, and you can see the group. The union and territory 1 to 4, citizen 5 to 11, fundamental rights. So that's the most important, fundamental rights. So 12 to 35. I will essentially spend some time on fundamental rights. Okay, and the many others, and there are actually amendment and cooperative society. Everything is there, and you can see that up to basically all articles, all things are there, including there. You can see 17 languages. Emergency provision 18. So all things are there within the constitution. And tribunal, all things are there. Okay. Now fundamental rights, I will spend some time on that because that's a commonly used term and commonly used, and that effectively we common people need to understand what is my right, what is not my right. That's the most important. Fundamental right, and that actually you can see in the Constitution 6A, Article 12 to 35. So many articles are actually devoted for this fundamental right. Right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational right, right to property. Actually that has taken from from this, and later on part 3 is included, moved from part 3 of the Constitution by the 44th Amendment in 1978, and it put in another place, and right to constitutional remedies. Okay, so these are the fundamental rights. And you can see directive principle of state policy 4, Article 36 to Article 51, directive principle of state policy, humanitarian and socialist instruction, that was the aim of social revolution envisaged by the India by the Constitutional Assembly. Article 37 emphasized the welfare state model of the Constitution and emphasized the positive duty of the state to promote the welfare of the people by affirming social, economic, political justice as well as to right, income, inequality and ensure individual dignity as mandated. So this Article 37 basically how I can get or you can get what kind of welfare one should get by the society, by the government of India or the state government. The welfare model of the Constitution and a positive duty of state to promote welfare of the people. Article 39 lays down certain principles of policy to be followed by the state, including providing the adequate means of livelihood of all citizens, equal pay for equal work for men and women, proper working conditions, reduction of the concentration of wealth and means of concentration of wealth. That is also actually offensive for the country. Okay, and means of production from the hands of few and distribution of commodity resource to the serve the common good. Okay, so that's Article 37 also very important, because that says that equal pay for equal work for man and woman, and also you cannot actually actually store a lot of wealth on among the hands of few. Article 41 to 43 mandate the state to endeavor to secure all the citizens the right to work, the living wage, and social security, maternity relief. Actually, come from 41 to 43, and a decent standing of living. So all these, when you get, that is there, you must remember that is in our constitution. It is not somebody is getting from outer sky. It is actually the government, actually the constitution of India is given to us. The encouragement encourages the state to secure a uniform civil code for all citizens by eliminating discriminating between various personal laws certainly in force in the country. So that is also a lot of debate. You can see that regarding the uniform civil code, and that also debate not only from the common people but also in the intellectual level and the political level, because that is also a part of the constitution, and that is Article 44. Fundamental right and any obligation upon the state to secure childhood care to all citizens below the age of 6. We'll see very soon there is a amendment in 2002 by Bajpayee government about the child below 14 and 6. So that will come soon. Article 46 mandate to promote the interest and of work for the economic upliftment of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, and protect from them from discrimination and exploitation. So that is there actually very much, and that actually given to the people by the empowering the Constitution of India. Article 47 commit the state to raise the standard of living, improve public health, prohibit the consumption of intoxicating drinks and drugs injurious to health. So that is also very important. When somebody in our institute like that, if asked why you have taken intoxicating drinks, that is already prohibited by the Constitution of India. Okay, it cannot be. It is not done. It is not allowed in terms of our Constitution. So Article 48 to organize agriculture, animal husbandry. That is basically empowering the people of India on modern and scientific line by improving breeds and prohibiting slaughter of cattle. So these things are actually that is also because all the animals are basically used for agriculture and other things. So so one cannot actually misuse the animal husbandry things. So that's why all the laws are there. All are there in the Constitution. The places on obligation upon the state to ensure the preservation of the monument object of national importance. So of course that we all know that national monuments and other national important places, those are basically acquired by Geological Survey of India. These are basically highly prohibited place. One cannot go and do anything there. The state to ensure separation of judiciary and execution in public service, and we all know how important it is, separation of judiciary and executive. And we all every day see in our day-to-day life, this is really important, otherwise our life will be miserable. In order to ensure judicial independence, and federal legislation has been enacted to achieve the objective. So that's why it is done. And Article 51, straight for the promotion of international peace and security, that is also there, that that is also in our Indian constitution, that we will always promote for international peace and security. Fundamental right, and that is there Article 51, to abide by constitution and respect its ideas and institutions, the national flag and national anthem, to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle for freedom, and to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. So you can see this one, those people who struggle for freedom movement, these are there in our constitution, that we must actually, we get inspired from them and we must respect them. To defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. So that is also there, and that actually we all discuss in our, individual level as well also within the friends. So if you are asked for any kind of, military and something at any time, actually we are bound to go there. So defend the country and render national service when called upon to do so. So if government pass a order from the parliament, we all supposed to go for military service or similar kind of thing. To promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic and regional or sectional diversity, and to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. So that is very important. You see, that is there actually. So nowadays we see many places people find, and then and people sometimes not take seriously, but you can see, to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. That is there in our Indian constitution, in the fundamental right, specially written this one. The value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture, to protect and improve national environment including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures, to develop the scientific temper, humanism and the spirit of inquiry and reform, to safeguard public property and to abjure violence, to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity, so that the nation constantly rise to higher level of endeavor and achievement. Now this is very important. That was there, but I will show how it came. Who is a parent or guardian to provide opportunity for children to his child, or as the case may be, word given between the age of 6 to 14 years. I will just count this. So that is against the child labor, okay? And that is a huge constitutional assembly, amendment of the constitutional assembly. And let me tell you, the first huge amendment, 42 amendment by former Prime Minister Indira Priyadarshini Gandhi, and 1976. And the 86th amendment, that's a huge amendment, and that was former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 86 amendment 2002. And that amendment, this language was, this part of the statement was introduced in the fundamental right. Who is a parent or guardian to provide opportunities for education to his children, or as the case may be, ward between the age of 6 to 14 years. So between 6 to 14 years, the child labor is prohibited. So that was introduced by former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Actually, you see the balance between interdependency between fundamental and fundamental rights, fundamental duties and fundamental rights. So this is the balance actually. I have all rights, but I have no duty. That is not the case. And that is balanced. You see, one side you have duty, another side you have right. Okay? And that actually keeps development of national healthy and progressive. So there are, among us, many of us, we think that I have a lot of rights, but we don't think that, equal equally that we have lot of duties also. I mean, and there is a balance in the Constitution Assembly in the Constitution. The most important characteristic of Indian Constitution, Article 38, G168 gives power to the Parliament to amend the Constitution. So that is actually, egg chicken kind of thing. You can see that generally Parliament cannot violate the Constitution, but the Parliament has the right to amend the Constitution. Is it like that? No, it is not like that. Actually, if we go, this Article 38 tells that there are details. Withstanding anything in this Constitution, Parliament may, in exercise of its constitutional power, amend by the way of addition, variation, or repeal any provision of this Constitution in accordance with the procedure laid down in the article. It means basically anything cannot be amended which actually contradict to the earlier article. So an amendment can be possible, but any amendment is not possible. Like fundamental rights, all these things, you can do some addition, alteration, but if it contradicts some of the things, that is not possible. Notwithstanding, that is very important word. Anything in this Constitution, Parliament may, in exercise of its constitutional power, amend by way of addition, variation, or repeal any provision of this Constitution in accordance with the procedure laid down in the article. So this article said you can do amendment, but you cannot do anything amendment. Okay? So this is the conclusion in words of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The Constitution is not a mere lawyer's document. It is a vehicle of life, and its spirit is always the spirit of age. In 2014, 125th birth anniversary of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, this day is called National Constitution Day, 26th November. And this was announced by the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 26th November will be celebrated as Constitution Day. So that's the conclusion of my, and I belong to Indian Association for the Constitution. So any question I can answer?
The Constitution really amendment রাখা হয় কেন স্যার?
No, if anybody later says that that was not in the original version, or anybody says that is there in the original version, so that's why that is there, so that no contradiction come in future. That was the original version. Somebody later says that this was there in the Constitution. Somebody says that was not there.
I have a question regarding this amendment. Suppose a political party has absolute majority and keeping in mind of their interest, if they make some kind of amendment, is it not necessary to get it vetted by the judiciary?
Yes, that is also possible. That is also there because judiciary actually what it do.
What is the role of the judiciary?
Judiciary, anybody can go.
Amendment comes.
Anybody can go to the public litigation, and then the argument will happen based on this. And whether it is notwithstanding or withstanding, so that will be there. Okay? And these are actually as per so this actually gives you power, but at the same time the power you will have that is not infinite, that has boundary conditions, and that boundary conditions are given there. Now if there is an argument, obviously there can be a PIL and people can go against that amendment, and amendment can be squashed by the judiciary if it is not in tone of the existing constitution. Any other questions?
Yes, sir, does Article 368 allow for scrapping of articles by the Parliament?
May actually, Article 368, I didn't read very carefully, but I don't think it is for scrapping, it is only addition. That's my guess. And that guess is a faint guess, that is not a very concise guess. I have to go through that details in Article 68, but I think it is addition and alteration, not for scrapping. Not for scrapping. Because scrapping is not necessary, no? You just add and alter few words and few statements, that works. So I don't think they scrap actually. Yeah.
You told us that the original constitution was kept in 1950 in helium-based some.
Nitrogen filled boxes.
But it is also mentioned in many books that it is kept in nitrogen-based field test, which is actually correct.
I do not know whatever from the different source I got that I one of the 3 original copies of Indian Constitution kept in a box filled with helium gas.
Another way said
And that is taken.
But I think that is unscientific, it is helium filled.
I don't know. The WW Dynamic India from India and report and explain Republic Day parade why original copy of Constitution kept in helium box. This that is probably government side.
That's a wrong. It must be like this.
That I do not know.
Because helium you cannot just keep it like that.
But helium also not reactive gas, no?
No, it will diffuse out.
That I do not know.
Yes, like that. Why not? It must be like this.
I don't know. It could be nitrogen. If director says nitrogen, it is nitrogen.
No. Scientifically. Because helium is the lightest gas and it will diffuse out. You cannot just confine it for example.
I have not thought to read so carefully about this part. Whatever I got from different documents, I got it. But I think the most important part of our constitution, that is, I would say, by going through that, I would say this fundamental right. That's the most important. This is most important thing, and also a directive principle of state policy. Government, whether it is state or central government, how they will rule us, and what we expect from them. So that is very important, and that is described here. So fundamental duties, and fundamental duty is also very important, because this is the balance between, as I said, and that's balance between duty and your right, that is there. So that's why I give a picture that that's the very important duty and right. Anything? Ujjwala, any question?
No, sir. You did not mention some amendments made
Made?
at the time of recent government. Did they make any amendments?
At the present government?
Yeah.
Every government does lot of amendment, but what I say that these 2 amendments are most important. Yeah, these 2 amendments are most important in 75 years of our independent country, because this amendment our fundamental right, and this amendment for to abolish the child labor. Okay, that's the most important. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the informative and enlightening lecture. We will now have the open house quiz. So I will tell you the rules of the quiz. There will be no teams. Each of the IACS members sitting here, every one of us can participate in the quiz. I will read out the questions one by one and you will have 10 seconds to raise your hand. I will reach out to you on raising your hand and the person who gives the correct answer will win a prize. Since the time as well as the number of questions are limited, it may so happen that all of you may not get a chance to win a prize, but I am sure we can gather knowledge and have a good experience out of this. So we will start now. So many of the questions are common. If you have followed the presentation of sir, then you can answer.
He will get all the prizes. He is not allowed to.
No, I will not.
No, he is not allowed.
I will not.
We too will not participate. So rest.
Yes.
Okay. So I will start now.
Hello.
First question. What is the minimum age of a person to be eligible to become the President of India?
35.
That's the correct answer. Please clap. Yes. Please, when you say the answers, please tell your name and your section. If you are students, please tell your name and school name.
What of department SPS and CSS?
Who is the first woman governor of a state in free India?
Maybe Sarojini Naidu.
Absolutely correct.
Amit Kumar Mujumdar.
Okay. Now a common question from the presentation. The Constitution of India was handwritten by which Indian calligrapher?
That was there.
Absolutely correct.
IACS.
And you note both of the people.
So this is a very easy question. Where is the original copy of the Constitution kept?
The Parliament Museum in New Delhi.
It's the Library of the Parliament. It's okay. That's the correct answer.
Your name.
Parth Bhatnagar, Science Biology.
Okay, now the fifth question. The national emblem of India, the lion capital of Ashoka, was adopted on 26 January 1950. So what do the four Asiatic lions standing back to back symbolize? Anyone? The four lions represent something. Each lion represents a quality. No one? So the answer is power, courage, pride and confidence. Okay, so no one wins the prize in this question. Next question. In the event of the death of the President of India while in office, what is the maximum period for which the Vice President can act as President? Somebody who did not get a chance. Yes. 6 months is the correct answer. How many times can the President of India seek re-election to his post?
One time.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll read out the question once more. How many times the President of India can seek re-election to his post?
2 times.
No. Absolutely correct, Shobha. Any number of times. There is no limit. The correct answer was given by Shobha Patru. Who gave? Eighth question. Who is the chairman of the Planning Commission of India?
Prime Minister.
Correct.
Woman Mandi from Police.
Okay. Please tell me exactly, precisely, how many hours before the actual polling of the election campaign, the campaigning must stop before the actual polling? 24 hours?
48. 48. Again, 48. 48. 48 hours. 48 hours.
Okay, who wants to answer? Please raise the voice. Raise your hand, we will reach out to you. Raise your hand, we will reach out to you.
বলো বুঝতে আছে
48 hours is correct. Please don't take help of mobile or any other gadgets. This is my request, okay? So number 10. Who is the custodian of the Constitution of India?
President of India.
I'm sorry. It's not.
না
Who is?
Chief Justice of India.
No, not.
Supreme Court actually.
Yes, yes. Supreme Court is the custodian of the
Yes.
Constitution of India. Okay. Number 11. Who was the first Speaker of Lok Sabha? Okay, I think he got the answers. Let us see. First Speaker of Lok Sabha, no? Now again. No. Yes, that's the correct answer. Ganesh Vasudev Madolankar, popularly known as Dada Sahib. Question number 12. Who acts as the President of India when neither the President nor the Vice President is available?
Chief Justice of India.
Yes, correct.
Woman Mandi Police.
Somebody who has not answered, please answer. Who drafted the preamble to the Constitution of India?
B.R. Ambedkar.
Preamble to the Constitution of India, not the Constitution.
Jawaharlal Nehru.
Yes, correct. Please tell your name and section. What was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar serving as when he was appointed the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constitution of India? He was serving a position. What was that position?
No.
Yes, sir.
Law minister, I guess.
That is correct. He was the law minister. So sir will win a prize. Question number 15. How many languages are recognized by the Constitution of India? Sorry? Sorry? What is your answer?
70.
22 is the correct answer. Please tell your name.
2 SCS.
Okay. Again a common question. In which year was the preamble to the Constitution amended, and what was the amendment? In which year was the preamble to the Constitution amended, and what was the amendment that was made? Even if you answered, okay.
Ma'am, 1976,
Yes.
socialists and secular were added during the emergency.
Yes, I will give you that. But integrity was also added along with it. But still, well done.
Part the knowledge.
Question number 17. What is the minimum age to qualify for election to the Lok Sabha?
25 years.
Correct.
Amit Kumar Sarkar, civil.
Okay, question number 18. Somebody was not answered. This is a very easy question. What is the term of the members of Rajya Sabha?
शायद sir.
Yes, correct.
राजेश कुमार लोहिया, हिंदी से.
Okay, last two questions. Question number 19. What are the languages in which the members can express themselves in the parliament? So the members of parliament can express themselves in how many languages?
Hindi or English?
No.
22.
No. So there is a term you need to use for this answer. It is Hindi, English and your mother tongue, which can be anything. Last question. What is the minimum age required to become a member of Rajya Sabha? No.
Ma'am,
1 second. 30 is the correct answer. The Mitra project section. Showing how many wrong answers?
unanswered. Two of the questions have been unanswered. Rest have been answered.
Okay. Since there are two prizes which were not won, so we'll ask very easy two questions on current affairs, so that some of you can get prizes. What is the capital of the Union Territory of Lakshadweep?
Navaratri.
Yes, correct.
Amit Kumar Sarkar, civil engineers.
Kavaratti. Okay, last question. Who is the Chief Minister of Maharashtra? 1 second. Somebody was not answered.
Eknath Singh.
Yes, correct.
Sorry.
Please tell your name.
Eknath Singh.
Yes, please tell your name.
Eknath Singh.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the questionnaire. Now we will distribute the prizes. For that, I request Director Sir to kindly come up and the prizes to the winners. Prizes are there hidden.
এখানে দাঁড়িয়ে দিয়েছি ঘরে যেতে হবে
হ্যাঁ একটা আসুন না
এখানে এখানে তুমি একটু বাচ্চা দাও
ছবি তুলো
First, Mr. Prashant Kumar Mudu.
Come.
Please clap.
Your best.
And Mr. Amit Kumar Majumdar. Mr. Vinayak Lala, SCS. Mr. Parth Bhatnagar, SDS. Then Mr. Shomo Vasha, SCS. Mr. Vinayak Lala, SCS. Mr. Showman Mandi. Mr. Kamal Raj. Mr. Kaushik Maji. Again, Mr. Vinayak Lala. Mr. Showman Mandi. Mr. Shobhak Kumar Patra. Professor Shatrajit Odhikari.
Come, come, Shatru.
তুই যাও না তোমার না না তুমি না
Mr. Mantu from SCS. Mr. Parth Bhatnagar, SDS. Mr. Amit Kumar Sharkar. Mr. Rajesh Kumar Mudia. Please take out the mixture. Again, Mr. Amit Kumar Sharkar. And lastly, Mr. Shoibat Hajra. Congratulations to all the winners and thank you, sir. Now I request our Registrar Madam, Ms. Shardani Shah, to give the vote of thanks.
Before offering my vote of thanks, I would request our Director, Professor Taposh Chakraborty, to felicitate today's speaker, Professor Satyajit Adhikari, with a flower bouquet. This we missed, please, sir. So we are about to conclude our today's event. As we celebrate this Constitution Day, it reminds us that this Constitution is a vehicle of life. As Professor Adhikari presented in his slides, it is a philosophy. It teaches us. So the starting sentence I saw in his slides is that it gets its power, authority and strength through the people of India. So if we bring a simile with our institute, so the institute also gets its power, strength, everything through us only. And it teaches us the liberty, I tried to remember by heart, justice, liberty, fraternity and equality. We all must practice this. It is, as I said, it is a philosophy of life, be it in realms of our individual living or in the professional workplace. We must practice this. With these few words, I once again thank our director for encouraging us, organizing this event and giving us the liberty in planning the program in our own way. Of course, I did nothing, everything was done by Purvasha. Thanks to Professor Adhikari for his lecture, which enriched us in a large way. And thanks to the organizing committee led by Purvasha Banerjee, our Deputy Registrar. They were there, in fact, myself, I forgot on the Saturday. So they were on their job on a holiday also. Professor Adhikari came here physically. So the event was successfully organized only due to the efforts and the planning of this organizing committee. And thanks once again for giving us such a wonderful and exciting event. We all enjoyed thoroughly. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for joining us. Refreshments are served outside.
Finish it.